Good morning, Chelsea here from Lifetime Retirement Income, and with me I have our founder and managing director, Ralph Stewart. Budget 2025. We thought we'd hit onto this subject. Now, every year Ralph and I go through the budget announcements and go, what's there for our retirees? And every year we do struggle, to find things that are in there for retirees. Probably one of our most aging populations in the country, the population that is getting bigger and bigger, and there's very little every year that we can actually find that is directly going to impact retirees. If we remember last year, budget 2024, our retirees got a $2.15 a week tax break, and I think that was about it, if I can remember fondly.
Certainly nothing else stand out.
Okay, so I'm just going to first touch on the key thing that's been spoken about quite a bit, and that's from Budget 2025. I believe it's called the Growth Budget, and Nicola Willis has a different name for it, but I'm not going to repeat it here. So basically, the big thing that's been spoken about is the Kiwisaver changes. And what you're kind of seeing there is that over a period of time, they are going to up the contributions that people contribute to Kiwisaver personally, and equally over that period of time, employers' contributions will go up as well. So that rather than having the 3% minimum, it will fundamentally go up to being a 4% minimum. Still not mandated, so not everyone has to have Kiwisaver. There's also the government contributions are being cut in half. Or if you earn over a certain amount, you won't get it at all. From that, I would say, there's some stuff around younger people getting it earlier, which is great because the earlier we save, the better. But there was talk about maybe 65, because basically when you turn 65, you get no government contribution, and the employer is not mandated to contribute to your Kiwisaver. Kind of disappointed that people over 65 were missed on this, and that if you are still working past 65, it's a shame that the employer doesn't have to contribute, particularly when, we're trying to go away from age discrimination. So that's a very, very small version of what's happened in Kiwisaver. So Ralph, tell me.
Yes. What's the question going to be?
How do these changes help our retirees today? People that are retired today.
I think you know the answer.
Yeah.
The Kiwisaver improvements are really good, but for the same audience we've seen probably the last 2 or 3 budgets, and that's been the audience has been those people who are working. What about those people who are no longer working, no longer saving, and are using their capital to generate income to supplement NZ Super? These Kiwisaver changes, ignore them and make no reference to them. Your good point, it would have been nice. There are people pre-retirement aged older than 65 who are in Kiwisaver who would have benefited, albeit from the contribution at half its rate. Good idea. But to answer your question, in short, the changes to Kiwisaver are responsible and they are helpful, and ultimately they will lead to a larger supplementary savings pool, so that people, when they come to retirement, are likely to have a better income. But it does nothing for those people who are retired today.
Now, as someone who was involved in the launch of Kiwisaver, you were one of the first people to set up a Kiwisaver when you formerly were the CEO of AXA. You probably had one of the first Kiwisavers accounts back then.
Yes.
And you worked with one of our founding board members, actually, Sir Michael Cullen, at the time to do this.
Yes.
Tell me, what do you think of the changes to Kiwisaver today?
Okay, that was back in 2007, Chelsea.
Yeah.
I'm trying to look at the changes to Kiwisaver through the lens of a retired person today. So in that context, we talked before about the benefits for those people at work and the larger account balances they're going to have when they retire. That's great. But where's it going to come from? What's happening with the actual cash flows? So now employers in New Zealand have to contribute over the next 2 years up to 1% more to the Kiwisaver pot. And that can't come out of people's incomes. The employer has to pay that. Understand that, that's all well and good. But where do you think the extra 1% will come from? In New Zealand, almost 83% of employers in New Zealand have 10 or less staff.
Yeah.
These are relatively small businesses in New Zealand, and they have to find 1% on their salary bill over the next 2 years. I suggest to you, Jels, that it's going to come out in the price.
Yes.
And those people no longer working will be paying for those people who are working.
Yeah, that's a mind twist, but I can follow where you're going. The other fascinating thing, I was listening to, I think it was a podcast or RNZ, and one of the guys from Henry was on it and saying that actually 1 in 5 Kiwis are actually working for themselves.
Yep.
And so these contributions disappearing, there's kind of nothing left for them in terms of incentives to utilise Kiwisaver.
I mean, correct, if you're working on your own, it's a salary reduction.
Yeah.
It's well intended, and we understand what it's trying to do. Our savings rate is too low. But for our retired people, it's likely that cup of coffee or that trip to the supermarket may just cost a little bit now, and that benefit will be passed to future generations, which is kind of nice, but it's a cost today.
Okay, let's get on to something that is for our retirees in Budget 2025. I believe there is some rates relief for people who are receiving New Zealand Super, or as it's kind of couched as gold card holders.
Got it. Thanks, Chelsea. It's called the rate rebate, and it's been around for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
You can find more information for it on the IRD website. And what it is there's a minimum amount you can earn, and if you earn less than that, you can claim a rates rebate. It has been around $35,000, and the rates rebate every year is about $800. They've lifted the threshold so you can earn more to about $45,000, and the rates rebate increases to just over $900.
Right.
So it's practical. There is one other potential way people can help themselves where they have real cash flow challenges, and that's outside of the IRD. City councils run a thing like you may have heard of reverse mortgage, a bit like a reverse mortgage where you don't have to pay your rates every year. You have to pay interest on the rates you don't pay, but when you sell your house, you repay the rates that you didn't pay at the time you sell the house.
All right.
Most city councils have those, not all, the big ones, like Auckland and Wellington have them, Christchurch has them. They're not organised to be consistent. Each one is different. Each one has different terms and conditions. And look, we're more than happy to help. If people are interested, let us know. We'll have a look at it and try and be helpful and provide the relevant information.
That's great. So we've got one win for our retirees in the budget. I dug down a little bit further, and in the health section, I found that they are going to do a redevelopment of the Nelson Hospital, which is a retirement bout. There's a lot of people down there who are retirees, so that's a win. There is some work to be done on Wellington Hospital and Auckland Hospital, where there is a number of retirees, so hopefully that's a win for them as well. There is an up and I think about $1 billion of funding for cancer treatments that have historically not been funded. So fingers crossed that sees its way to our retirees as well. And lastly, I couldn't find the numbers, but they've kind of said they're going to invest in more aged care. I couldn't find the numbers to say how much, but you know that's really important because we're going to see that come up more and more over the next probably 10 to 20 years. We're really going to peak in that area. So really important thing to find. Okay, next thing we're going to talk about, and this was actually pre-election announcement. I think it might have been a day or two announced earlier, and that is the New Zealand Super Fund is going to see its first withdrawal in 2028.
Yes.
Again, Sir Michael Cullen used to be on our board. This was actually, it was coined the Cullen Fund for a while, wasn't it?
It was.
Now, his predictions was it was going to get tapped into in around about the mid-30s. Treasury came out last year and indicated 2033. It's now coming to 2028. You know, I know we don't know how much it needed to get to in terms of for it to be tapped into. We don't know the mechanics of this. So, prefacing, we don't have all the information. But Ralph, what do you think about this?
Got it, Chelsea. And I love the term the Cullen Fund, and Michael deserves that. We're very lucky to have the Cullen Fund, particularly in the sort of in a retirement sense. It's the likes of the changing nature of taxation enables us to use the Cullen Fund to move money out of that to allow us to not tax impost for current working people as the population ages. It's a really cool thing. Going earlier, 2028 is 5 years earlier than 2033. It's good to note that it's a little bit of numbers magic.
Yeah.
In 2028, it's about $31 million, which is not a lot.
Yes. Yeah.
And then it progressively moves up from there, and about 2035 it'll become a regular withdrawal. But key thing to note is that when you think about the contributions coming in from the government and the payments out, so contributions from tax, then payments back around to round out the tax, even after taking some money out of the fund is still expected to grow till about 2070.
Perfect.
So no problems here.
So another thing, reflecting on New Zealand Super, Cullen Fund starting to make its first withdrawal in 2028, I felt in the lead up to the budget and after the budget, there were some real undertones of the New Zealand Super debate again becoming a political football for next year's election. You know, a lot of the politicians were starting to, I felt they were starting to work on what their policy might be around it, and started to work on kind of maybe what their wording and how they might comment on it in the future and what their policies might say. So, did you feel like that as well, Ralph?
Got it, Chels, and it's very topical.
Yeah.
You may have noticed last week that Denmark declared that it's increasing its eligibility for the pension in Denmark over the next couple of years to age 68, and by 2035 to age 70. Equally this year, China started to do the same thing. It's a little hard to read the fine lines around the Chinese type approach. Males and females are different, and blue collar and white collar are different.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, regardless of that, it means an increase in pension eligibility by about 3 years over the next 5, which is quite severe. For us, for our good old New Zealand retirees, the bedrock of New Zealand, it's not a real issue in the short run. In fact, the medium term. I think if you're in your late 60s or early 70s, it's not going to be a problem. It will be a problem,
yes,
but for our retirees today, it's a wee way away. It's somewhat helped by the budget in that, in our view, the budget is responsible because it's effectively saved some money in some areas and spent it in others. It hasn't incurred any further debt. So debt to GDP in New Zealand is still forecast to come down. In previous budgets, you've just had great improvements and great, what sound like forward-looking social benefits for New Zealanders, but it's all been paid for by the credit card. Not so in this budget. This budget is, clearly reallocating savings to spending where Nicola thinks it should go. What's good in that for retirees is it means our pot of money for the future is not increasing in terms of debt, therefore it continues to be available to support NZ Super. So it's a responsible budget in that context.
Okay, Ralph, so let's do a bit of a wrap up. My final question is going to be to you is how does this budget support our retirees living day to day in New Zealand comfortably? And when I say that, we're not talking about the top end. We've got 60% of those over the age of 65 today that are mainly living off New Zealand Super alone. The assets people take into retirement are a home, if they're fortunate enough to pay off a mortgage-free home, and some retirement savings. And then they've got to pay basically to stay living in their home over a 20 to 25 year period, even up to 30 years. We know that retirement income gap between what they're getting from New Zealand Super and what they need to live in day to day, based on the Massey University Retirement Expenditure Study, is anywhere between $54 and $1,000 a week, depending on where you live and whether you're in a couple and what kind of luxuries you like in your retirement. So looking at that, how does this budget help our retirees?
Well, what a good summary, Chelsea. Pretty hard to add to that. I think we just have to be clear, and you have been all the way through. This budget has not helped retirees. The current challenges they face remain. This budget is for working people in New Zealand, and they will have a better retirement in the future as a result of it. For our wonderful retired community in New Zealand, the only good thing I think you can take out of this is the fiscal responsibility that's been applied. We need NZ Super to continue for a long time, for decades. Your good reference to the Cullen Fund, that is helpful. It's only a small amount this year. It still peaks well into the future, 2070. So I think the positive aspects is that New Zealand is not using its credit card to pay for benefits that are largely for people other than retired people. That means debt to GDP can be managed. So in allocating the tax take and allocating our resources, it hasn't made it any worse, or the problems got no worse. We just haven't made any valuable contributions to improving them.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Now, Ralph, if any of our retirees are out there and they are looking to utilise retirement assets to help cover their retirement income gap, whether it be $54 or $1,000 a week, please do head to our website. We offer two products, one which helps people manage a drawdown over a 20 plus year period using retirement savings, and we also have our lifetime home equity release product, which helps you fundamentally get a regular fortnightly payment for 10 years utilising the equity in your house. You can head to our website at lifetimeincome.co.nz.